Hi guys, Dandelion Song here. We're going to look at Great Scott. You've probably noticed how many times Great Scott is said and with great emphasis, and also when words are said with great emphasis, that means that they're special. It's almost like they're pounding on a bigger drum psychologically for you. So in great, first of all, there is a 7-11. Now, not only does this equal 9/11, and there are so many 9/11 foreshadowings in this movie we're talking about. In case you just joined us and you haven't checked the lineup, I'm doing a little lineup of the Back to the Future movies and the foreshadowing of 9/11. This 7th month is Tishrei in the Roman calendar. It basically is equivalent to September. 7-Eleven stores have the Valley of Death. Over here we learned that the Valley of Death, where did it go? Yeah, here it is. Oh, just Valley of Death equals the Bride of Christ. So that coding was either there or it just happens to equal that. And then this also equals 923. We saw sacrifices on both those days. Also the 7-11 ratio is sacred to them, almost like pi. And it has to do with the alignments of the Great Pyramid, which is supposedly symbolic of the evolution, the consciousness evolution of man. Okay, that reminded me that 10:08 is the places on the clock that that square the circle and basically encode the slopes, the slope angles of the Great Pyramid. And then that made me wonder, okay, well, they were showing the clock here a bunch because it was save the clock tower. Every time they said save the clock tower, you looked at the clock tower and it had a different time. And sometimes it was 10:01 and sometimes it was 10:03. And I'm going to have to just go through this movie. It's a little bit painful to watch because it's kind of old and really hokey now. But we need to look at it, and just that way we can start to predict. We can look at things from the new movie. Like this movie, The Walk. This is going to be a heavily coded movie. He's walking looks like he's a tightrope walker, which is symbolic of kind of our whole society. And not only that, but the character here looks like Marty McFly. Just the weirdest thing. And this is also directed, or this is a Robert Zemeckis movie. Okay. When you watch movies like this, I'm sorry, I keep going back to it, but I just keep getting different thoughts. When you watch movies like this that are heavily coded, if you feel yourself going into a trance, just blink, especially blink like unnaturally, and often. Look away, look to the walls of the theater, the walls of your house, and you can also roll your eyes whatever direction, but firmly, that feels right to you. You can go both directions, and you will be able to watch without being programmed. You can also intend to not be programmed, but I would go ahead and break your vision, because those are hypnotic. All these things are, and they will hijack your ability to collapse the quantum wave, and they'll turn you into one of these, just one of these zombies that's just a hijacked computer, kind of, instead of being using your own divinity for your own creativity. Well, Scott happens to have in the very center is a I forgot to tell you, this is menorah gematria. That's why you're probably like, where did she get those numbers? Okay, so this is menorah gematria. Here's the code. There it is. So here we have a 9 on this side. The SC is a 9, and the double T here is a double 7. Just to remind you that Marty of Marty McFly is a double 7. So that's like a double cross here, see? The two crosses. Okay, well 9 and 14 is 23, and then we add the 2, and that's another form of pi. So I just want to show you how many pi's are in here. And this is an 11 and a 14, which is another 25. So this is 50. So they're talking about the final state. I don't know if I've taken it this far in these videos. If you're new to my videos and you just followed in from the headlines, welcome. And I just decode a lot of things here. I don't always have the perfect answer. We're learning as we go along together, learning how to speak this language, learning what's being programmed into us. Anyway, this 50th state is Hawaii. This translates to an 8 and a 9, which is reversed for Lupercalia, but also adds together to make a 17. This is Q. If you put it back into the placement code of the alphabet, Q is the power symbol on every power device. It is the conception moment. And I found a lot of places all over the world that have this shape of the circle with something coming into it, just like this. And I at the time, if you go watch those videos, I don't connect it to a Q, and I don't connect it to pi. But we've learned a lot more since we've come along together. So Great Scott here is 50. It's the 50th states. It kind of symbolizes the U.S., I have a feeling. So this would be, I didn't do the simple gematria here at all. I'll pause it and do the simple gematria and take a quick look on the gematria counter. Okay, here we are back to do some more study on Great Scott. So here I put the simple gematria up here above. It's very interesting because the G and the R again equals pi in the form of 25. And we know that this name, you know, Grover and Green, and this prefix, basically we need to realize it's a 7. It's a 7 and a 9. This would root to a 9. But in its unrooted state, it adds to a 25, which is pi. So it's basically pi, G's and R's. Now, the G and the R is right next to eat. Eat equals God. And it's a little bit spooky, especially if you watch my video about the mouth and the river, and the mouth being God, and also this whole Roman eagle idea. The Roman eagle equals 239. And I believe this 239 equals Roman eagle. If you look at the pictures of the cave of Lupercalia, there's an eagle in the top of the cave, and I believe this is an Atlantis religion, and it matches the Toltec religion, which says that everything comes from the eagle. All things are emanations of the eagle, and all things go back to the eagle. Very interesting. And they say that their seers paid a great price to see the eagle. Well, okay, so what I want to say about eat is I think that they think that the eagle is God. God equals 26. Eat equals 26. And the idea is that the eagle emanates consciousness. It gives consciousness, like in the movie Jupiter Ascending, where, you know, he says, I give life, I create life, and then he, you know, takes away life. The head of the house of Brassix, which basically means headhunters. Brassix means cabbage. Well, okay, I digress. The idea from the Toltec is that when you die, if you go back into the light, you will be consumed again by the eagle, and that it's almost like as if the eagle the eagle creates a farm. The eagle is a consciousness farmer. The eagle takes some of its own consciousness and puts it into the farm, where you develop your consciousness while you're here, and then when you go back, the eagle eats you again. You are eaten and you go into the mouth. So that's my theory about God and eat and the Toltec eagle and the Roman eagle, and why they have sacrifices, because they are sacrificing to the eagle. It's very weird, this whole Mecca thing, this whole day. I haven't talked about it in a while. I did a video on this, but this was the day. This day is their day. It was on 9/23, and that was their day of stoning the devil. And the reason why they stoned the devil is because the devil told Abraham 3 times to not sacrifice his child. And if you listen to the devil, then according to them, you're listening to the inner despot. How do you spell that? This. So you need to stone the devil and obey God to sacrifice. You need to, and it's just interesting that they were in the process of stoning the devil for the purpose of going through with the sacrifice, and then they all were sacrificed on 322 Street, which matches, which word was it? You're probably trying to tell me with your telepathicness. Now I can't find it. Oh, clock. Yeah, and next to this place, next to the place where they go around the Kaaba, that is the highest clock tower in the world. Speaking of clock towers, the biggest in the world, and it has like a big. People say it's a moon on top. It's not a moon. It's not a moon. It's a exoplanet. Have you ever seen our moon look like this? This is exactly what George Washington wore around his neck, and people say that was from the moon goddess. It's from a goddess, but it's an exoplanet goddess. Boy, did I read something weird in the American Destiny from Egyptian Times by Marty Lee. By Manly P. Hall last night. I really want to tell you that about George Washington. Goodness gracious, and George McClellan. And I think it's real history. Look how far off the track I got. Hey, you guys are distracting me. No, I'm just kidding. All right, so great has pie in it and eat. So the eagle gets to eat, or God eats perfection. See? That's what we just talked about. Puts out a little bit of consciousness. I'll put a little C here, and then it grows to a bigger C, and then it goes back, and then the eagle gets a tasty bite of consciousness. Now Scott, here we have again the 77, which was in, same as Marty. Right? Okay, but what combines to the 77? This is a 22. This is the lowest form of the slave, plus a 55, which is alarm. All of this, if you add all this together, it's almost like an evolution. You see the lowest form of the slave plus this much equals this much evolution in consciousness. It goes to basically perfection. If I put 77 into my geometric counter, I think we're going to get some evolved type of esoteric equivalence. Well, if we just put Great Scott in, it equals 128 together. Because this is, 51. Okay, that's right. And then that's 768. And then in the Jewish gematria, every once in a while, it's smaller than the English. It's 536. In the Jewish gematria, this equals quarter. It doesn't look like I wrote that, but I did. And Mazda and some other weird stuff. But in the English and the simple gematria, there's some important things here. Adolf Hitler, pineal gland clairvoyance, 711. Can you imagine every time in this movie that has this Twin Pines Mall, it's all about 9/11, and then we have Doc saying Great Scott all the time. Every time he says Great Scott, he's really saying 7/11. Which is the date of the terrorists. Or, it wasn't terrorists. It was our own government. Now, okay, a little aside again. On the Zachary K. Hubbard channel, he doesn't have it every time, but he had a definition of the original definition of terrorism, and it means government control by fear. It doesn't mean bad guys from somewhere else do something naughty in our country. It doesn't mean that. It means government control by fear. This is why we should have kept our old dictionaries. It's not always good to get a new dictionary. Sometimes you want to keep your old dictionary. Okay, it also equals breaking news. So every time people on the news say breaking news, they're saying this. It also equals 7 of 9. Now she was interesting because she was a former Borg regaining her humanity, and that is part of the story of our planet. We are descendants of partial Borg people. If you look at the ancient drawings of Viracocha, he's part man, part metal. Something's going on with that. There's a reason. It also equals Mother's Day, White Buffalo, Batman and Robin, Stephen King, and Brotherhood. Amazing. And I don't think I told you that Twin Tower with the S, pretty sure there's an S on there, equals this. This equals Vitruvius. And I didn't look up all the other associations, but do you see this? Do you see how closely that equals Robert Zemeckis? And this 2274, I'm really pretty sure I saw that again. I was looking all over my notes trying to see where did 2274 go. Because this would be, this could be a lot of stuff. Because I would do this backwards through the menorah gematria to find out what that is. And where I'd seen it before. See, now, if we had been taught all this stuff when we were little, our minds would do that easily. Since we have to learn this as grown-ups, it seems all clumsy and strange and difficult. So we just have to chip away at this. We'll get used to it. All right, thanks for watching. Talk to you later.